What mentorship does is turns decades into, say, weeks or months. So if you could find yourself a mentor, a good, effective mentor, you don't have to spend a decade learning how to do something before you can get your feet wet and actually do it. And that's the good thing about mentorships. Welcome to the Ironclad Underwriting Podcast, where precision meets performance in commercial real estate. I'm your host, Jason Williams, and every week we deep dive into the strategies and systems and stories behind rock solid underwriting. Whether you're a seasoned analyst, an up and coming investor, or a commercial real estate professional looking to sharpen your edge, this show is your front row seat to expert insights, emerging trends, and real world underwriting tactics that stand the test of time and scrutiny. From market assumptions to debt structuring, cap rates to cash flow, we're cutting through the noise and getting to the numbers that matter. So sharpen your pencils and fire up those models. Let's get to work. This is Ironclad Underwriting. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Ironclad Underwriting Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Williams, and I'm here with my friend and partner, business partner, Frank Patalano. How are you doing, Frank?
Hey, not too bad, not too bad.
And today, we are going to focus on not necessarily an underwriting topic, but it sort of does apply to underwriting in the long run, is mentorship and mentors and how to find them and how to use them most effectively. Both Frank and I have mentors. We wouldn't be where we were if we didn't have mentors. So I got business coaches, mentors. I've probably paid over six figures right now in mentorships. Um, and I feel like probably about 95% of them have been worth it. Not all of them are, but the majority of them are if you do what you're supposed to do and what you're set out to do. So you have any ideas on that or thoughts on that?
I mean, you've spent a little more than I have, but I think many people spend big money for a college education, and I've gotten more out of my um, mentor network and my education for real estate than I did with what I did with my degree, my college
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I have a PhD. So I've spent a lot of money on education at college, and really I'm not even using my degree anymore. I have a PhD in chemical engineering and I'm investing in real estate. So how does that work, you know? Um, but I do invest in myself. That's the best investment you can make is in yourself because even if all your financial investments go belly up, if you invest in yourself, you're still going to have all that information and all the knowledge and experience. And you can't really get rid of that unless I have like a stroke or something and survive it and don't remember anything. But what mentorship does is so I actually spent 9.5 years in college um, with my undergrad and graduate career. So let's say that's a decade. What mentorship does is turns decades into, say, weeks or months, definitely not years. So if you could find yourself a mentor, a good, effective mentor, you don't have to spend a decade learning how to do something before you can get your feet wet and actually do it. And that's the good thing about mentorships. Um, I work with my mentor is Joe Fairless. He's with Ashcroft Capital. He has like 2.7 or 2.8 billion dollars in assets under management. Um, right now it's summer of 2025, so I'm sure he's going to keep growing. So if you hear this 5-10 years from now, his assets under management is going to be significantly higher. But I like to work with a mentor who I work with like one on one, and that's what I do with Joe. Is I work with him one on one. When I first started my journey, I thought Joe was like super expensive and I couldn't afford him. And so I worked with a guy who actually I found out Joe worked with before Joe got big. And it's like, well, if he can create Joe, he can create me to be like Joe. And that didn't work. And back then, I think Joe was like less than half of what he was when we got in with Joe. but he was still expensive. And so we met this other guy who Joe worked with for like even half of that, for like I'm going to use these numbers as like $6,000 or something, because that was big money for me back then. And we floundered with that guy for 18 months. It was an introduction to multifamily, to commercial multifamily. So I did get a little bit of an education there. I learned how to run some numbers. They had their own platform on how they ran their numbers, but they didn't actually acquire multifamily. What they did was a wholesale multifamily. And I'm not even sure how effective they were at wholesaling multifamily, because every call I was on, I had to dial up some random phone number because it changed every week. And I don't get to see anybody. It's not like a Zoom call. And so I'm listening, and all these people are talking about deals, but they never talk about actually selling a contract to somebody else to buy and actually having the property close. So I wonder if that even happened. It might have. I never saw it. It never happened for me. Instead, what I learned was how to send out mailing campaigns, not even emails, but actual physical mailers. We didn't do those bandit signs, but we did send out hundreds of mailers, and cost us a pretty penny in just postage alone, because we did it all our own.
Old
And
school.
it's like, this is not for us. This is not what I want to be doing. And we actually circled back to Joe again, and that's when we signed up with him, and it cost us a whole lot more than it was originally. And so it was, we should have spent that money with him first, and it would have saved us time and money and effort in the long run.
So when we say Joe Fairless, for people that don't know, he has written a book. He has, it's called Best Ever. And he has a
Yeah.
lot of different aspects of his brand, but not everybody knows the name Joe without saying Best Ever.
Yeah, he has the longest running daily real estate podcast ever. It was like the best ever real estate podcast or something like that. I don't even
Yeah.
really know. But he's done also like podcasts for like syndication. He has started podcasts for like passive and active investors. He's written several books, but the book that he's really mainly known for, and some call it like the Bible of syndication, is the best ever real estate syndication book, or something like that. I just know where's Joe's book, and I go and grab it. So
I was gonna say I have it lying around behind me somewhere. So
I have mine somewhere, but for the listeners, it doesn't do them any good. But we'll put it in the show notes where to find it. And right now, I don't have any affiliations going on with Amazon. So if we put a link to it in the show notes, I'm not getting anything from it. Um, but I am actually looking into starting an affiliate.
good idea.
But I do know now that if you do work with Joe, and he doesn't advertise it, I've talked with other mentors, and they didn't even know Joe had a program, because Joe is big in the space, and like there's all these other programs out there, and Joe is been big with them. They didn't even know he had a program. But now I believe if you work with him, and again, this is in the summer of 2025, he's about 75,000 to work with. But again, you get his phone number, you get direct access to him. The good thing about working with someone like Joe is on my very first deal, I was buying, and actually Frank was part of this deal, my wife, Angel, we were buying an apartment complex. Angel and I had $175,000 hard going into this deal, and we were a week away from closing, and we didn't even have a loan yet. If you know anything, if you don't know anything, a loan takes about 28 days minimum, and that's like fast tracking everything to get everything worked out. If you go with some other like bank debt, it could be up like 45 to 60 days. Agency could be as long as 90 days. And we were 7 days out. So we were able, Joe, we were on the call with Joe like every other day. He was making sure our priorities were in order, making sure we were going through the steps we needed to go through. And the weird thing about life is sometimes you know what you need to do, but you just need someone to tell you to do it before it lights a fire under you to go get it done. You know what I mean, Frank? It's
Well,
like,
it's almost like an accountability partner in some ways.
yeah. It's like I was listening to this thing today from Alex Ramosi. He's like, yeah, you know what you need to do. It's like, if I want a six pack abs, I know I need to do sit ups, but I'm not going to do them. And maybe if I had someone there with a whip telling me, hey, you do need to do sit ups, I'll do them. But it's like, you know what you need to do. You just aren't doing it. It's the same thing with buying an apartment complex. You know what we need to do, the steps we need to go through. We just need like the extra push to get us to do it. Long story short, we were on the phone with him every other day, and we ultimately did end up closing the deal. We currently are running the deal, and it's probably one of our better deals that we have right now
It's a beautiful property.
going. It's a beautiful property. It's 15 minutes from my house, so it's a really good deal.
I wish
We
it was
would
making
not
a
have,
little more money, but it's still a beautiful property.
yeah, we wouldn't have been able to do that without having a mentor like Joe. So and having a mentor or even a business coach. I have a business coach as well. Trevor McGregor. Trevor McGregor was Joe's coach. I was like, well, hey, hell, again, I was thinking if Trevor can make a Joe, then Trevor can make me into a Joe. So, but I also know that Joe is still working with Trevor McGregor, so that there's still a little bit there. So that I felt good about working more with Trevor than that first guy, and I still work with Trevor to this day. So, and you want to tell a little bit about your mentorship adventure, because I know you use Rod Cleef.
So, I mean, obviously, we're mostly focused in the same space and circles here. So, on the syndication or the multifamily space, there's probably a solid 5 to 10 um, large names out there of people that offer programs, and I went with someone by the name of Rod Cleef. If you don't know Rod, Rod's awesome. He lives down in Sarasota. He in the last crash, he lost like $50 million of single family homes, and he figured that multifamily was a better way to go when he started from zero again. And like I said, I've been to a lot of different courses. But for some reason or another, the way he runs himself in his life, it speaks to me. So I think he's a great guy, and I happily part of the program. You can't. A lot of people can't say that. So you get two people here that are pretty happy with who they've hitched their wagon to, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And one thing I want to point out is Frank's with one mentorship program, I'm with another, and Frank and I are business partners. So it's not like these guys are competing with each other or there's competition between Joe's group and Rod's group. No, it's like it's just a different platform to learn on, and you can form relationships between like the ecosystem of each group or outside and merge. So it's not like you pick one and you have to stick with it and you can't move on. Now, granted, there are some programs out there that I've seen where if you sign up with them, you have to do deals internally. And if you don't, you get blackballed and ultimately you get kicked out. And I'm not going to mention names, but I know a few people who have gotten kicked out of different. I got one guy got kicked out of one program, and another person got kicked out of another one, and there's actually many more that happens to, but you just don't really know about it, and that's kind of upsetting. Is that's not what we're here for. We're here to all grow, learn, build up our pocketbooks, and we're not here just to make one person rich. We're here to make everybody rich. Because I'm of the mentality that a rising tide raises all ships. So that's what I think. And there are unreputable mentorship programs out there. Frank says that he's happy with his. I'm happy with mine. There's a lot of people happy with their groups, but then there's also people who aren't happy with them. And in some of these programs, they cost maybe $20,000, $40,000. They're floundering and nothing's happening. I know one time, and I said before that I like to work directly with the coach that I'm working with. I want his phone number and everything. If you sign up with other programs, you get maybe a coach of a coach of a coach, and it's almost like a pyramid scheme. And the guy's sitting up at the top, and he has like, I guess, 20, 40 other coaches underneath him. And I know people who were more experienced than the coaches they were working with. They weren't more experienced than the guy at the top, but they were more experienced with the coach. And that was kind of upsetting for that person after spending 40 grand and knowing more than what the guy teaching them knew. So that's upsetting. I also know people who spend 40 grand and expect everything to be done for them. And that's one thing you can't go into a mentorship program expecting is like, if I give you money, I want you to do everything for me because I'm spending all this money and I want just the money to come rolling in. It's like, no, what your mentor is going to do is lay a foundation or a roadmap that you need to follow. He's gonna um, hold you accountable to do those things, but if you don't do them, I mean, he's not going to track you down, say, "Hey, have you done this yet?" It's like, because I mean, if you drop off the face of the earth, they're not going to go chasing after you, but they will hold you accountable if you're making the calls, doing everything you're supposed to be doing, and showing effort on your end. And that's one thing you have to do is put in the effort. Like I said, this is turning decades into weeks or months. It's not like we've mentioned before, it's not a get rich quick. You're not going to fork over $40,000 and expect money to come rolling in. You actually have to put in the work.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, definitely a lot of people that are not successful in this business. It's a combination of to be successful, it's a combination of how much work you put into it and how much you're able to network and find the right deals.
maybe we should talk about networking in a future one. I prefer not to network. I'm an introvert, like to do my own thing and play with my numbers. But networking is a big part of the space. Real estate is a team sport. To do it effectively, it's a team sport, and so you need to find a team. And these ecosystems or these mentorship programs help you find teams faster because everybody in those mentorship program fought their way in. They all pay the same amount as you, and they're all have a vested interest in that topic. Multifamily, they have mentorship programs for self storage, RV parks. They have pretty much a mentorship program for anything you can think of. And if you get into that mentorship program and you join their ecosystem, everybody in there is in there for the same reason you are. And so more likely you would find partnerships that you can work with. You find partnerships who have similar values as you, and so it's definitely worth it. Even and my wife Angel equates it to, it's like I bought into this program and now I get these people. It's like buying into a fraternity or a sorority. I was never a fraternity or sorority person in college. Like I said, I wasn't social back then, antisocial, like my numbers and computers, and so that's what I did. And she's the exact opposite of me. She likes people and hanging out with people and going to parties. And if the party didn't have a T-shirt, the party never existed. And so that's kind of person she is. And she'd probably kill me for saying it, but she has like a ton of party T-shirts from her Greek days in college. So,
But
um, you have anything else to add for mentorships, what benefits they can give you, or why you want to pick one over the other?
I would, like I said, the chance of success in, especially in a tough industry like real estate, you got to be careful. The chance of success is just like small businesses. What do they say that 90% of all businesses fail in the first 5 years or something? Uh, it's kind of like when you join a program, it increases your chance of success.
Yeah. And also, what these programs do is just about every platform I know or every mentorship I know, they have like big one-on-one type conferences. Sometimes it's only open to their students or their ecosystem. Sometimes it's open to the public. You've been to a few that have been open to the public for different programs. Do you have anything to say on those? Or
Are
just
you
need
talking about like
to,
are you talking about like the freebies?
not the freebies, the ones that were in like Phoenix and San Diego and stuff like that, that you paid for, but were outside of your ecosystem? And
Oh,
that's,
I purposely like, obviously I love the group I'm part of, but the chance to be able to meet people outside of the group is also very beneficial because every group has certain things that are, certain strengths and even some weaknesses. And you surprise yourself by getting to meet new people and finding deals outside of your general network. I mean, I do a lot of deals in my network, but I also do a lot of deals outside of my network too.
yeah. And I guess it's more seeing how things are done other places. I know a lot of times students or even clients would come up to me. They would go to their mentorship um, weekly meeting, and specifically for underwriting, their underwriters would check it off. They would maybe look at what, 3, 5 deals on the call, and the call might be an hour long. I don't know specifically because I never sat in on those calls. I just know what it is from the people who told me. And their underwriting coach would check off on a deal, say everything looks good, and they would come to me, and I would find like big errors that should have been like standing out. It's like, hey, you realize you're doing this. And it scares me that those mentors checked off on the underwriting. And and so that's one thing you need to look out for is you need to do your due diligence whenever you do find a program. Like I said, I like Joe Fairless, you like Rod Cleve. I've never seen anything bad on the underwritings come from either of those that come across my desk from clients. But um, other programs out there I have, and I've had students who've been in other programs and they didn't feel like they got the underwriting knowledge they felt they deserved, and so they came to me for an additional education on underwriting, and they've already paid 40 grand for another program thinking it would help them with their underwriting. So I mean, do your due diligence, figure out what each program does. You need to talk to different people about it who are in the group. If you can find them, you would definitely get like that knowledge, that firsthand knowledge from the person. And not everybody is into underwriting. And so if you're a networker and you have an underwriting class, you might think, okay, that's sufficient. I'm not going to be doing this, but it's enough. So I assume that it's enough for everybody, and it may or may not be. So, because I know with my wife, Angel, if she sat in on an underwriting class for one of these other programs, she might think, all right, I got a spreadsheet, I got this knowledge. I might not necessarily know how to fill it out, but it's sufficient for me, and it may be sufficient for her, but it's not sufficient for the underwriter on the team always. And so, um, anything else? I know we're kind of just like shotgunning, going all over the place with it, but
Well, I mean, in summary, getting a mentor is super important. There's nothing wrong with putting education as an investment into what you're doing. If you really want to become an expert in a field or in a space, you need to learn from people that are already there. It saves you time.
yeah. Yeah, as my business coach Trevor McGregor says, it turns decades. He likes to say decades into days, just for the alliteration, but more realistically, it's weeks or months. So, um, so that's it for today. That's it on mentorships. If you have a mentorship program that you like, drop it in the comments. I know I'm on a bunch of different platforms. I'm on all the podcasting platforms that I could find, and I'm on YouTube, Instagram, if you LinkedIn. If you have anything, drop it in the comments, and we'll discuss it at a later date. We can always revisit this after we've been in this in our respective programs a little bit longer. So it's definitely not a one and done type thing, even within our own program. So again, this is Jason Williams with Ironclad Underwriting, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Ironclad Underwriting Podcast. If you got value from today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, rate, and share the show. And don't forget to connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or check us out at our website at ironcladunderwriting.com for more insights and updates. If you have a question, a deal you're analyzing, or a topic you want us to tackle, shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep your assumptions grounded, your models sharp, and your underwriting ironclad.